Hello and good morning or good afternoon to our audience and to our community. We are so excited to welcome you back for the fourth installment or third installment on our series of faith inspired leadership and multifamily in the property management industry. I have been your series host, Melissa D. White. And what an incredible honor that I get to have these impactful conversations with giants and leaders in our industry. We felt it was important for you to not just hear about the launch of this program, but to learn about the details and how this all came together from the visionaries themselves. I find it an incredible honor to sit with the founder and CEO of the Community Growth Foundation, David Snyder, and the dean of the Colangelo Business School of Business at Grand Canyon University. Good morning to you, John Kaites, and my dear friend who has led the charge of our task force this last 18 months, Stephanie Puryear Helling. I would be remiss if I didn't tell you a little bit more about the accomplishments, the impact, and the footprint of these leaders. So I'm going to take a moment just to set the stage for our conversation, okay? Today, we're going to get into a conversation about community, industry, and university partnerships. And as the theme of what I've been talking about all this week, we're at an intersection where we're no longer working in silos. It's requiring collaboration to advance the kingdom, but also establishing education, partnership, and industry leadership, not just for leadership, but faith inspired leadership. And today we're going to hear from David Snyder. Dave Snyder is the founder of the Community Growth Foundation. He can speak to the vision today behind CGF, why this initiative matters to us, and the broader opportunity to serve this industry through leadership development rooted in faith, ethics, service, and purpose. So, David, welcome to the conversation today.
Thank you, Melissa.
Absolutely. We also have Mr. John Kaites, Dean of Grand Canyon University School of Business. John will be speaking to the partnership with Grand Canyon University, the university's role in bringing this course to life, and the value of creating a formal educational pathway for multifamily professionals. We're honored to have this partnership and for you to join the conversation. Welcome, John.
Thank you, Melissa. It's John Kaites, and
Cadence,
I
thank
am
you.
more than happy to be here. It's very exciting what we're doing, both with the Community Foundation and our programs at Grand Canyon University.
Thank you very much. And of course, Stephanie Puryear Helling, founder of Shrink Proof Leadership, Maxwell Leadership Executive Program Director, keynote speaker, author, NAAEI faculty, and leader of this CKREM task force. Stephanie, thank you again for being here for the conversation today.
Thanks for having me, Melissa.
Absolutely. So let's just get right into our conversation. So I want to start with you, Dave. Tell us more about Community Growth Foundation and the vision that you had in launching and creating this initiative for the Faith Inspired Leadership and Property Management course.
Well, we've been involved in multifamily real estate for 44 years, since 1982. And early in the 90s, I really felt motivated at that time, or convicted, maybe I should say, that I had thousands and thousands of apartment units across the country, and God just sort of told me, he goes, you can't tell me the name of one resident. You can't tell me who has a problem, who just got a promotion. You can't tell me anything about them. And he says, I've given you this platform for not just for investment, but for, to impact people's lives. And he goes, and all you're doing is using it for mercenary purposes. And so that started a long trajectory for me of trying to be more active in multifamily with residents to impact people, to turn them from contacts into relationships. And it really became formalized in the mid 2000s. We started Community Growth Foundation to influence people in their real estate ownership, to influence mission-driven activities, impact activities on properties, to really promote personal wholeness in residents, which is impacting people from a physical standpoint, their physical health, their spiritual health, their relational health, their mental health, financial education, and their professional relationships. And we try to be very intentional in that over the years and in our own portfolio. And then we started growing outside of our own portfolio to other people's properties and then into the churches to impact churches in establishing multi-housing impact programs in different churches. And that's sort of what led me to get involved with John at that point, because we felt the need to really educate the next generation in multifamily management.
That's so good that you felt let one called and you answered that call to really build and nurture that relationship, which leads you to the relationship with John. So, John, how did this come about? The relationship with you and
Yeah.
Dave, and then extended beyond it to say, "Hey, we're going to do this partnership together."
Well, Grand Canyon University, just the College of Business, will have 22,000 students this fall. We have 135,000 total students. We graduated last month, 34,000 students. It is a juggernaut for Jesus, and we are committed to being super creative about ways to transform the lives of other people. And
Mm,
Dave, through mutual friend, and I met. He came to town, meeting Phoenix,
mm,
and we sat down. And he had this vision for creating a property management program that
mm,
integrated not only faith but allowed the students to take what they needed to know about property management and turn that into operational impact for Christ.
wow.
And it is unreal how insightful that vision was. And so that was 2 years ago, and Dave and I got to work bringing it together. GCU has a very robust system of creating programs. Dave and his team introduced us to Stephanie and to you, Melissa, and to others who became our subject matter experts on building out the program, and now it is ready for operation. Our pilot class is available online beginning June 23rd. So
Mhm.
any student could apply, and we've got students already applied to taking the first RLS 301 class on property management and faith inspired leadership. So God bless folks like Dave and others that come up with these concepts through the power of the Holy Spirit. And God bless Brian Mueller and Grand Canyon University. Brian's our president, for his vision. We haven't raised tuition in 18 years, and are an incredibly affordable um, uh, university that produces amazing outcomes for our students. So it's just a joy to be part of God's plan.
That's incredible. One, to hear the staggering numbers of students that are committed to Christ Center education at Grand Canyon, but also to hear the backstory of how this came to fruition. And now to see the fruit of that, the team, the subject matter experts. I mean, what an incredible thing. Like John 15, fruit that lasts, right? Is what we want to establish. And so let's talk more about that. Dave, why did CGF decide to pursue specifically faith-based leadership and property management? There's several topics we could have taught from, right, for the faith-inspired leadership, but specifically for this industry. Why multifamily industry? And I'm going to add to that. Why now? Why do you think it's critical that we launch this now?
The multifamily industry, in my opinion, is one of the greatest platforms for social connection and social impact in the U.S. I mean, if I was in industrial warehousing or other types of real estate, I would have somewhat limited, impact. But in multifamily, you have an opportunity to, as an owner and as a manager, to use that as a platform to be part of people's lives, to earn the right to have relationship, to earn the right to be part of their lives. And through a series of events over the last 30 years, we've seen the power of relationship. We had several thousand apartment units in Houston when Hurricane Katrina hit, and it was a time when we were able to have some impact, and to have influence in people's lives. COVID was such a blessing for us. I sound terrible saying stuff like that, but we had relationships, and when COVID hit, those relationships grew into impact with different people. Um, we've had thousands of apartment units in Vegas. When the Las Vegas massacre happened, we were able to minister and talk with people and support our residents there. And it's just a platform. It's a platform, I think, that God has given us to really be involved in the lives of others and to impact their lives. And sometimes it's spiritual, sometimes it's social or physical or relational. That's okay. God wants us to be part of moving people to a point of personal wholeness, and multifamily real estate just gives us that opportunity. It gives us the opportunity to have impact, and those people respond. They want to stay. They want to, when this becomes your community, you want to stay there. Your support group is there. You're getting fed. You're learning. It just becomes a healthy environment at that point.
I love that you said that. It impacts retention, that relationship. It has the staying power for the whole family, right? The whole family's impacted, and they remain not only at our properties, but they remain in their relationships with the team, the community abroad. So, John, I want to talk more about the course itself. Um, with this course, it is unique and different and how it's delivered with Bible based curriculum, Christ centered philosophy, specifically around discipleship, stewardship, and leadership. Can you talk a little bit more about why it was important or the impact of integrating Bible based leadership principles along with this course? Can you share more insight to that?
Yeah, I will, and I'm going to invite Stephanie to finish the
Yes.
subject because she is so well versed on the details of every aspect of this class. It
Mm,
has been an incredible journey. Everything we do, we want to teach our students to be able to operationalize their faith. And so the idea is not just to grow your faith and to build your relationship with Christ through this course, but then to give you practical strategies and tactics that turn you into a successful discipler, right? It's one thing to be able to uh, do sales, manage maintenance teams, manage the property, and efficiently do that job. There's thousands and thousands of people in the property management world that are doing that. It's another thing to disciple people and to say, I know your stuff. I know what's going on because the property manager knows better than anybody who's struggling in that community, who's
yeah.
having problems in that community. And so this course gives not just theological, impactful knowledge, but practical knowledge on how then to go about the business of doing what the Lord wants us to do in the Great Commission, which is
Mhm.
to make disciples and disciple people and walk beside them and care about them and be there in their toughest times and create moments of community and access to churches and other resources in the area that can help those families improve their lives physically, financially, and spiritually. And then I'll let Stephanie uh, tag along on this because she has done
Yeah.
such an awesome job in helping us create the program.
Stephanie, please contribute to that.
Sure. Happy to jump in. Thank you, John. So, as the task force really built the framework initially, we were looking at it from a strategic perspective because there is a lot of education in the industry, credentialed programs, right, that are provided to multifamily professionals. Number one, we didn't want to recreate the wheel. And number two, our intent was not to um, necessarily educate people on the nuts and bolts of property management because that already exists. But to be true to Dave's vision and how we can really make a difference and an impact in the communities we serve. And by the way, I loved what Dave talked about in terms of relationships. And Melissa, when you and I spoke the other day, what we do, we have such an incredible, not only opportunity, but an impact on people because these are their homes, right? And the home is one of the most important things in our lives. And so, whether it's intentional or unintentional, we do make a huge impact in people's lives. And so, our goal was to be very intentional about how are we impacting their lives in all of the ways that Dave mentioned. So, as we were putting together the framework for what ultimately resulted in the 8 modules, we felt it really important to think about what would Jesus do, right? What is that biblical based wisdom that needs to be imparted for leaders in multifamily that isn't really being imparted, not in an academia way, not in a professional way. And so some of those modules, for example, we focused a lot on ethics, and we were so honored and blessed to have 8 multifamily leaders in the industry, some CEOs of companies, some CEOs of education providers, and then many of our task force members who have a background in education, asset management, leading um, small to medium to big size companies. And so they all participated in the ethics module interviews, which I'm thrilled that our students are going to have an opportunity to not only learn about ethics, but to hear some real world examples of how these leaders have navigated those tough scenarios that will happen, right? And how they stayed grounded and made the right decisions. At the end of the day, what is the right thing to do? So that's one really strong example of what our students will experience throughout this course. And then some other things, if you think about how we interact with residents, problems come to us, we're supposed to be the solution department. And so, how do we address those problems and challenges in a very human centered, dignified way that honors our residents, our clients, our supplier partners with dignity and respect, and looking at it through a biblical lens? And the last thing that I'll touch on before I land the plane here is as we put together curriculum, we had to select materials that were required reading. So obviously the Bible is one of them. But the 3 textbooks that were chosen as required reading, you can see behind me, Maxwell Leadership. John Maxwell is my mentor and my friend, and has written almost 100 books on leadership that are grounded in faith. So we chose the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John C. Maxwell. We chose The Speed of Trust, The One Thing That Changes Everything by Stephen M. R. Covey, the son of Stephen R. Covey. I actually got to meet both of them when they launched that book several years ago. And Stephen Covey actually wrote the foreword to John's book, which is pretty exciting and full circle. And then last but not least, Servant Leadership in Action, How You Can Achieve Great Relationships and Results by Ken Blanchard and Renee Broadwell. So I'm thrilled about what our students are going to experience, the very rich, meaningful, and impactful content throughout the course. And I would be remiss to mention that we are thrilled that the professor of our course is going to be you, Melissa. So we prayed about that. And, when we talked about not only launching this pilot, but also the course, I talked to Dr. Slover, the assistant dean, and he said, well, it needs to be someone with a master's degree, needs to be with someone who's had at least 5 years experience in multifamily, and ideally someone who is already a professor. And I said, I know the perfect person. And so I called Melissa on my way to the Maxwell Leadership Conference on a Saturday, late afternoon, early evening. And it was another God thing. And, if we have time, you can talk about that. We talked about that a little bit on Monday, but
Yeah.
we're thrilled about how this has all come about. It's been very serendipitous, and I am so excited about the positive impact it's going to make in the lives of others.
Mhm. What an honor. I was telling Dave offline, we were talking about just how we landed in the industry and the timing of things. And it's incredible to carry this charge. And my prayer daily is really to honor and do justice to what we create and honor God through this work. And I'm excited for our students. The fact that they are introduced to Christ-centered leadership and discipleship in their work early. Dave and I were talking before and saying how, it took 20 some odd years working in the industry before we really encountered our first Christian or fellow believer through our work. And they don't have to endure that. They get to foster these relationships early and creating their community. And I like to look at it as the discipleship is an extension of that mentorship. We focus, especially in academia, we focus very heavily on mentorship, but like no higher calling than to disciple someone. That's even bigger. And so, Stephanie, I think the team has done an incredible job. The curriculum has an appropriate amount of rigor in order to help students have a sustained leadership model. And that's what I appreciate as an academic coming from other universities, is seeing how intentional we are with different modalities. Even though it is asynchronous, it's self-paced, they still get to interact with one another. And we're grateful to all of the subject matter experts who lended case studies from their companies. Like you said, the ethics course is impeccable. I don't care if you're a seasoned leader or a new leader, you need it. We
Yes.
can all have a reminder or a refresher in that course, and just some real life examples. And so just thank you to all of you, and also to our incredible task force. We cannot thank you enough for the countless hours you put into this work. So I
And,
want to
and
go.
Melissa,
Yes.
I will say your class starts June 22nd. The deadline to apply for this for the pilot program is June 15th. And the
Yes.
fastest way to sign up for this class is to go to the communitygrowthfoundation.org/education website, and you can sign up. It'll take you right to the GCU process to sign up for it. It's even
Mhm.
faster than going through the GCU portal to make that happen. So I just want to make sure
Absolutely.
people know that there are some seats available, but we are capping the number of students in this first class
Mhm.
to pilot and to learn from this first class. But it's an exceptional opportunity for anybody who's interested. And I see it streaming at the bottom of our program right now. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, we did. Thank you for that call to action. We want them to
Yeah.
not only listen, but act and
Yeah.
click that button. We have a few more spaces available. And, Dave, you were sharing earlier, like this inaugural pilot group, they are so significant. This isn't just you taking another course. I feel it's a part of like history. I always say this is like a legacy building moment here. Like, really, you get to lend your feedback and your insight as you go through the course, and we fine tune things and kind of put your stamp on what it's like from the student experience. So Dave, I'm glad you mentioned that earlier in our conversation of your excitement to see, hey, what's their feedback as the pilot group goes through the course.
Well, all of our efforts are to try to get people to move from a transactional mindset to a transformational mindset. And so many times, whether it's people coming out of college or people in the management industry, they're working at a job, and that's what it is to them. It's job, it's transactional. when somebody comes in with a success or a problem, it's a imposition, and it's
Mhm.
just a transactional thing. When you are able to realize and that your job is what you're paid to do, your calling is what you're made to do,
Mm-hmm.
and then God has the ability to take your passions and take your purpose and your potential and roll it all into one area called your calling. And when you understand your calling, especially in multifamily, it becomes such a move from success to significance that now you're significant in people's lives and you're making a change, you're making them better citizens, you're making them better spiritually, you're just a conduit for God's love to work in their lives. And it's exciting. It lends a whole different level of excitement to multifamily management, in my opinion. And I'm couldn't be happier that John and the college and the task force have all come together to see the value of this type of investment.
Whew. I think we're all moved by that statement that hit us all because we've all had to give a yes, a yes to Christ, and a yes to this work. And
Yeah.
thank you, thank you,
Yeah.
thank you, Dave. Okay, so we've touched on the course itself, and you really answered my next question about career as a calling. This question wasn't on my list, but I feel it's important to share from a testimony standpoint because it says we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimonies. And we hear the resumes and the bios of leaders, but we don't often hear your testimonies and stories. Can you think of maybe one pivotal moment or crossroads of faith in your career journey that helped you be a better leader? I'm
Oh,
asking this from a personal perspective, but also for the students to hear from you how you had to lean on your faith, whether it's a scripture or a call of God to be a better leader. Can you share that? Either one of you, Dave, John, or Stephanie.
well, I'm happy to.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I'm happy to just tell you that the pivotal moment for me was when I changed from putting Christ as a part of my life to putting Him in the center of my life. And if you think about life as just a circle, right? Most people, most Christians, put Christ as a piece of the pie, of the puzzle of life, right? And so they've got job over here, and family, and fun, and friends, and then Jesus is a piece of their life. And then when things are tough, he becomes a big part of their life. And when things
Mhm.
are good, he becomes a little skinny part of their life until they need him again. And God is not a short order cook. He's not out there just call me if you need me. He wants our heart. And so when I prayed that prayer of Lord, up until now, everything I've ever wanted to be, you've made happen. But up until now, it's been all about me. I want to make it all about you. Tell me what you want me to do, and I'll do it. That's when I fully surrendered and put him in the center of my life so that I see every aspect through the lens of that relationship with Christ. And the Bible itself, from the beginning to end, has one of the biggest components is Christ at the center of it all. And he wants to be in the center of our lives. And it's remarkable when you make that commitment to do your two jobs, which is to love God and love others, to surrender and serve, and to put Christ at the center of your life. It's amazing um, how impactful and miraculous each day is. And I think all three of us, or all four of us, probably could talk about then the miracle train that happens once you do that. Of just the four of us
Mhm.
being together on this journey of creation of one course, the miracles that had to happen for that to happen, and they just keep coming all day, every day when you're putting Christ at the center of your life.
I love that. Thank you. We have to take him from being a part of our lives to be the
Hmm.
center of our focus. That's so good. Thank you, John. Anyone else want to contribute to that? Just a pivotal moment for you.
I think I went from as low as you can get to being a point where I was used of God, and I think a lot of times people think that they have to accomplish something first before God uses them, and that's not really the case. They just have to be willing. And back in the '80s, I had worked with a company and an investment company, and was involved with pension funds and different investments, and we went on a staff retreat, and this had been several years, and we were sitting there in a hot tub with staff and doing things, talking, and we somehow the subject got onto church or Christianity, and this person that I'd known for several years said, "Are you a Christian?" And I said, "Well, yeah." They go, "Oh, I had no idea." And it was just like sticking a dagger through my heart. I thought, I've worked with this person for several years and they had no idea what I stood for. And I went from that level of mediocrity to different areas where one of the greatest things that ever compliment that was ever made to me several years ago is a pastor came up to me. He says, "Mr. Snyder," he goes, "I want you to know something. Is our activity in multi-housing ministry and the activity of our people in our church and multi-housing ministry through you guys, it's really raised the spiritual self-esteem of our church." And so I started out about as low as you can get, and worked over the years to be higher impact. But God God uses you, and you just have to have a willing heart, and that's what's so exciting about multifamily is, we keep thinking about property managers and stuff, impacting people. It's not just property managers; it's leasing agents, it's maintenance technicians, and other people that are dealing with people on a daily basis that have the ability to create relationship and to affect people and impact their lives through those relationships. And it's really a number of people that, and not just the management personnel, but investors and owners to be more involved with this, where they're very intentional and where they have the ability to meet with God at the beginning of the day and spend time with God and strategize what is His purpose for the contacts they're going to make during that day and the lives that they're going to be involved with.
I love that. Wow. And thank you for your transparency with that story, that testimony. I'm sure it hits us, but I know it's going to impact those too. Like, wow, will those who work with me know that I'm a believer, that I'm a Christian just by my actions, by being around me every day? And that goes to what we're teaching, what we're focusing on. Like, hey, will they know by your leadership that you're a believer? So that's good. Well, my final question before we close is this. I want you to think about the other owners, operators out there, supplier partners, affiliates, all of the team members. Like you said, Dave, this is about more than just managers. It's about everyone who stewards, not just our assets, but the people and communities. Talk to them for a moment directly. There's someone from the industry is going to see this and wonder, why should I apply to this program? Or how do I go to my leader and ask to participate in this program? Tell the owners and operators or suppliers why they need to be connected with this initiative and support or even sponsor their team members in participating in this course. Dave, I'll start with you, and then John.
You have to have purpose in your life, and you have a purpose driven life. And whether you're a vendor or an investor or an owner, why are you here? and and you have an opportunity here to impact the 40 million Americans that live in multifamily, and the fact that even the Surgeon General came out and said that isolation and loneliness are at epidemic proportions in the U.S.
Mhm.
You have the ability to get involved with a program that is going to address that isolation and loneliness, and it just makes sense. Most of our investors are not faith based. Most of our investors are other beliefs or institutional, very large institutional investors that are involved with us. And we've had several that stood up at our investor meeting. When we gave them a presentation of how our impact and what we're doing, they said, well, I don't know about all the voodoo that you guys do, but I just know that it makes us money. And
Mhm.
even the secular investor realizes that treating people in a godly manner is something that is good for business and maximizes profits, maximizes accountability, and it's something that they have a comfort level with. And I'm very proud of that.
Thank
And
you
I
for
would,
speaking to that from even a secular perspective of why it's just good business to invest in it. So thank you. John, your thoughts
no,
on that,
I was
speaking
just
to
gonna,
that.
I was gonna emphasize what you just said and what Dave just said, that the whole value of this proposition financially is that you're going to have happier customers who want to stay in your buildings. And so your rent rates, your occupancy rates, I mean, are going to be much more, I believe, successful because they're in a place where people care about them, and the customer is being cared for, they're being loved, they're going to feel that love, and whether they're a Christian or not, they're going to want that. It's amazing how people like being around places where folks are happy, where they have the joy of the Lord in their hearts, whether they're Christian or not. And you will see an impact in your business I think, in a measurable way, because you're showing your residents and your customers that you love them, you care about them, and you want to walk with them in this journey of life. And that unique that will translate to the bottom line. Stephanie, do you have anything else to add to that?
Sure. I mean, so many great nuggets, and I'm just thrilled that you both are available to be here today. But I'm in the people development business. Okay, that's what I do for a living. At Maxwell Leadership, our DNA is we are people of value who value others and add value to them. And so when I think about this program specifically, to piggyback on what both of you said, and Melissa and I had an opportunity on Monday to chat about this a little bit more. Um, I'm an assessment geek, and so I leverage the Maxwell method of DISC. I'm a certified DISC consultant, and then I also leverage Clifton Strengths. Well, the organization that oversees Clifton Strengths is the Gallup organization. And when most people hear Gallup, right, they think of the polls that happen. But Gallup has done extensive research on um, leadership as well as employee engagement. And so, to kind of reiterate, it's just good business. So the statistics tell us that people who can leverage their strengths at work, and also that goes with their faith, and Melissa can talk more about that because that's kind of her area of expertise, bringing the faith to the workplace. But people who can engage their strengths at work, bring their whole human self to the workplace. As you mentioned, John, they're going to be happier, which means if they're going to be happier and leveraging more of their strengths, they're going to be more productive, more engaged, and all of that translates to longevity, less turnover, and guess what? Profitability. And the statistics show it. So, my question is, why wouldn't you invest in this program? Because as Dave mentioned, it's just good business. If you think about what we do and the lives that we impact, we are also in the people business. Yes, we manage multi-million dollar assets. Yes, it's a $1 trillion industry. But at the end of the day, we are all in the people business. And so this is a great opportunity to make a significant impact in the lives of others that is going to be long lasting. And why not?
Why
Praise
not?
God.
Well said. So you've heard the testimonies, the stories, the insights of why this is just a good decision, good business, and good stewardship to invest in your teams and your people to participate in this program. And as John shared with you, you can register now. We're accepting enrollment through the 15th. So hey, before you pack your bag and head to Apartmentalize or to your conferences or whatever, just go ahead and enroll for the course. It's 8 weeks, just to get you through the summer, to get that push of leadership, to get those nuggets and the training. Like we said, it's comprehensive, rigorous, but impactful. 25 seats. I am excited to interact with you. Although asynchronous, it'll be high touch level where we'll work through the courses together, the case studies together, and you will leave the course Grand Canyon University's credentialed with the certification, which definitely holds weight. The tuition is just a modern investment with the return that you'll get on leaders who are equipped to steward your asset and your people well. Again, go ahead, apply. We have a few more spaces available to start our class June 22nd. We are excited about this program. If you didn't feel that excitement already, this is a legacy move. This is our clarion call to you to be a part of something big. I believe, Dave, John, and Stephanie, we're making history with creating space where this is a safe community of Christ-centered leaders who can be bold in their leadership and their discipleship. Thank you so much to each of you for joining me on this Friday afternoon. Stephanie, thank you again for leading this charge. And guys, if you're watching this series, we're halfway through. We have 3 more episodes. Make sure you lock in, turn on your notifications, hit that subscribe button, go follow Community Growth Foundation on LinkedIn, and we'll see you on the next installment so you can meet our task force members next week. Have a great rest of the day, everyone, and we'll see you prayerfully inside of the course. Blessings to you. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. Thanks, Melissa. Thanks, Dave. Thanks,